we go. We are recording right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the DJ Greg podcast. I'm glad that you are here. Look, it's not often that you see a pair of DJs collectively spinning the tunes during a live set, but these guys are spot on that task. I am honored to interview half of this dynamic duo of DJs. It's my man Nitro from one of Canada's best, the Boogie Hill Faders. What's happening, my dude?
What's up, DJ Greg? Thanks for having me, man. This is fun. When you reached out, I thought, wow, this is very cool. I appreciate you having me on.
Man, my pleasure, man. Thanks for hopping on. Really appreciate, hearing the Boogie Hill Fader sound over the years, and it's great to connect.
Very cool. And I should say, Dustin was supposed to be here today. His day job, he still has a day job through all this COVID stuff. So he last minute kind of couldn't make it on. Got to pay those bills. So,
that's what it's all about.
Right.
Big shout out to Big D, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, man, let's start from the beginning, man. How did you get started with the whole DJing thing?
Oh, man. Well, if you go way back, I started as a young pup doing school dances, doing weddings. When I got old enough, I got into nightclubs. I DJed nightclubs for about 10 years. And I moved back to my hometown up in Fort McMurray, Alberta. And my friend from high school, Dustin, Big D, was DJing up there. And so when I moved back to Fort McMurray for a couple of years, we started DJing together in a club up that way. So that's how we got started. That's how I got started. I got started about 14, 15. I was actually starting to do remixes even before I started DJing. My sister had a boyfriend who had a little tiny realistic mixer, and he used to mix Depeche Mode tapes, just do blends and mix them. And I thought that was the coolest thing. I never knew nothing about it. Got into doing tape edits. I used to actually use a tape recorder, press pause, unpause, do a little loop, press pause again, rewind the loop, and do extended breaks like with tape cassettes. I started doing that. And then before I got into DJing, and obviously once I started doing the music stuff that way, I needed a place to play the music. So started doing dances and that sort of thing. So that's a little bit how I got started. And I've been in the game a long time. I going back to what I would have been 1993. So that's when I got started.
Oh man, especially like with cassettes, man. You were doing loops with cassettes.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. I was just cleaning up my office actually, and I found an old box, all of my old one of the first mixes I did an extended break version of House of Pain's Jump Around. And when you do it on cassette, when you press pause and rewind and press unpause to record again, every time you do that, the one side of the tape deck was a little bit faster. So it would get quickly faster. So I got this like high pitch that, I thought it was the best thing going at the time. I listened to it now. Oh, it's a little embarrassing, but you gotta start somewhere, right?
You gotta start somewhere, man. Extending the break of a song was the whole genesis of DJing. You're taking the best part and you're just going back and forth with it. Kind of like the Grandmaster Flash of extending a break. All right, so you and Dustin went back into high school days. So whose idea was it to say, okay, let's make this a collaboration and let's do our sets together?
So what happened was, Dustin, it's a little bit interesting because his background, he's a drummer. He's actually a musician. So he got into DJing later. When he was in high school, he was in a punk band called Polka Time Aces. And I was over at the other high school. He was in one high school, I was in another high school, and I was doing a lot of the early house, dance, early techno, 90s techno stuff, kind of that acid house stuff.
Right.
And then breaking through to the new kind of Euro style house stuff, the Coronas, Rhythm of the Night, the Wakefields and all that stuff. That's kind of when I got into it. But I still had a big hip hop background. As a kid, I just loved urban music. So I kind of started DJing with both. Meanwhile, Dustin's over here doing nothing but punk rock. So And when we hooked up, he was DJing. He got into house music in his 20s. He worked for a club down in Edmonton. He was a bartender there, and they needed someone to spin tunes. And he thought, hey, I can try this. So he got into a lot of house music then in the early 2000s. So he got started a little bit later, but his musical background, you know, made him a perfect fit for being a DJ, understanding song structure and chords and how to mix, you know, properly and do things in key. And so when he started DJing, then he moved back to Fort McMurray, took a job up there. He's an engineer by trade, so he works in oil and gas. So he took a job in the oil sands, big oil company up in Fort McMurray, moved up there, started working on the weekends part-time for a nightclub. When I moved back to Fort McMurray, he was already at the club that I was looking to spotlight and get on.
Yeah.
So he said, well, hey, why don't you come in and then we'll work together. So that's kind of how we got started. We used to do these little jam sessions like throughout the night as we were DJing, where we would go song for song. He would drop a track and then he would try to screwball me. He would throw something in to try to like throw me off. And then I would play another track as quickly as possible to try to catch him off guard.
Right.
Yeah, so that's kind of how, you know, we made it a little bit of a friendly rivalry as we were DJing. I would basically drop a track and look at him and go, oh, what do you got? Like, and then and he would try to come in as quick as possible. So we would try to catch each other sleeping, right? Like, so
right.
You off your mix or you throw your mix off and your dance floor is booing at you or whatever, right? So we did that, but we could never, you know, we did, but we were pretty good at it. So we were like, hey man, like, I never thought of playing this and you just dropped that and this works really well. So that kind of gave us the ability to look at things like, okay, well, let's see how deep we can dig and make things work. So we just started DJing together. We originally we originally had an idea for a Canada DJs collective where we wanted to call ourselves Canada DJs, whatnot. We launched with that. We ran into a little bit, now this is going back, you know, 10 years or more.
Okay.
But there was, in Canada, there's a couple of DJs out east called Team Canada's DJs, Team Canada. And they were known for doing some remixes with Johnny Cash. It kind of brought him to the stage. And we unknowingly doing the Canada DJs thing out west, there was some conflict being created because we were starting to do our own remixes and people were confusing the mixes and whatnot. So we dropped the whole Canada DJs thing just to try to reinvent like a separate brand and something that would be a little more standout-ish so there wouldn't be any confusion. And the idea for Boogie Hill Faders was literally, what name can we call ourselves that there would be no chance in hell that anybody would have anything even close. Cause I mean, you know, in the DJ world, I know 10 DJ Nitros. I know, DJ names there's not very much left that you can use, right?
Right,
so,
that's right.
Yeah, so the Boogie Hill Faders name, that's where that came from, was the idea of we wanted to keep something funky, something, because we were very retro oriented. Retro in terms of just digging deep is we don't consider ourselves retro DJs. We just like to dig deep. And then we were like, well, what if we were from somewhere, right? And the idea of the Boogie Hill. And then the faders on the end, just obviously a bit of a throw to the fader on the mixer, right? So that would give us identity, right? So anybody in those circles would go, okay, obviously they're into mixing, so, because I mean, Boogie Hill by itself could be anything. It could be a band, it could be a guy down the block, it could be whatever, right?
Right. I thought it was somebody like doing a spoof of A Taste of Honey when I
right, yeah.
I heard Boogie Hill. I was like, okay, maybe they doing a spoof of some disco stuff.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, originally, like I'm born out east in Newfoundland in Canada. And there's the farthest point east is a place called Signal Hill. It's the farthest point east in North America. You go to Signal Hill, you can't go any further east. It's even further out than all you guys on the East Coast. So we were throwing around the idea of a Signal Hill Faders, that sort of thing. But we like the idea more of the boogie being something that was, more of an identity piece for what we were doing with the retro music. So.
Right. And it all fits in. I mean, it definitely caught my eye and the many eyes of others. Because I've seen you, spinning at at Calgary Flames games and then the other sporting events. How did you guys branch off into that field? The
Well,
sporting events.
yeah, absolutely. So going back about to the same time when we started Boogie Hill, we got reached out to from a production manager at the Flames who does in-game production. So when you go to a game, any game, NBA game, NHL, there's somebody in charge of, you know, when you're at the stadium, somebody giving away T-shirts, somebody, now we're going to cut down to, and they go, so there's somebody in charge of all that, like a show director, right? So he reached out, and they actually had an issue with some of the music they were playing in the Saddle Dome, in the arena. So the arena holds about 23,000 people, which is a pretty big arena. Actually, I think it's the biggest in the NHL right now in terms of capacity. But anyways, the music that they were playing at the stadium, they were just jamming in. So, you know, they go on the power play and they would drop a power play song. There would be a break where they show kids dancing on the screens and they would play Cotton Eye Joe, you know, things like that. Okay. But it was very like the music worked, but they had no feedback in terms of what was working, what wasn't, because they're so busy doing the production. We'll cut here, go there. And they had an audio guy, a DJ in-house who was dropping these tracks, but they didn't really know what the fans were responding to and whatnot. So they reached out and asked me to do some consulting for them. So to go to the games, to sit down, to analyze the crowd, no different than reading a crowd when you DJ, right? Like look at your crowd in the room, what's working, what's not. Oh, they dropped, you know, we were down 2 goals and they dropped this song and it didn't really work because it was maybe too high tempo and they needed something a little more aggressive to get them back in the game, things like that. So I would consult and give them reports based on what worked, what didn't, and then give them some advice on like what songs to maybe bring in, old songs to bring in, plus add some new stuff in, cycle this stuff out, this stuff's not working, that sort of thing. So that's how I got started with the Flames specifically. And then in Calgary, what had happened at that time was the Flames ended up taking over majority shareholder of the Calgary Stampeders, which was the CFL, the football team. So just basically by proxy, because I was there and doing that work already, we got introduced into the management team for the Stampeders. And then again with the Roughnecks, which is the lacrosse team, they took over the lacrosse team as well. So one ownership group, Calgary Sports and Entertainment Group, owns all of the sports teams in Calgary. So kind of got introduced into those circles. And then they were doing some spotlight stuff where they were doing retro nights, that sort of thing. So they would reach out and say, hey, we got this song, this idea for a song. Can you do a mix of it? Or can you do an edit of it? Sure, I can do that, no problem. So it just slowly evolved, like, can you do this? Can you do that? And next thing you know, we're DJing for the specialty nights, after parties we're DJing, tailgate parties come along, we start doing those. So just built a good relationship with them over the years, and it's just evolved into other things that we do.
Right, nice. Okay. So slowly that evolved, and that was that a really big change in your career? I mean, did you see something like that coming that could be, lucrative or as a business?
Yeah, honestly, we did, and I only say that, with a little bit of gusto, because we were at the point where we were starting to focus more on our production stuff. We're getting a little bit older. We both got married. We both had kids, and we both didn't see ourselves hanging around the nightclubs, because doing the touring, the Boogie Hill Faders touring show, we were doing like lots of gigs around the West Coast, traveling all over. But we're aware of the brand, and we're aware of who you're presenting it to. And in nightclubs, you've got a bit of a period where you can hit before you become the old guy. And we didn't want to become the old guys, doing the club stuff. And we really did want to focus more on our music production. So we started looking at different ways to, okay, well, how can we keep doing what we're doing, stay true to our core? We're really focused on our music production, the remixing, the edits. We are focused more on the retro stuff, which has a little bit more of a broader appeal. So what markets can we reach out to you know, to keep that going without us staying out until 3 o'clock in the morning. So, you know,
Right.
looking at the sports events and that sort of thing gives us a really cool window because we reach a ton of people. We go do tailgate parties and we're done at 7 p.m. at night, and we're home with the kids and the wives, and everything's cool that way. So we did eyeball those industries as a way of, okay, we can still execute our brand without having to really kind of, you know, burn the candle at both ends.
Absolutely.
Nightclubs and trying to do the remixing and production work as well. So
Yeah, and you know, you got to keep wifey happy.
yeah, rule number one, man, of being a successful DJ. So I think so. That's
You
like
got to keep wifey
longevity
happy.
right there.
That's right. That's the key to longevity.
In this industry, yeah.
That's right.
I agree.
Absolutely. So now let's get into your production work, because I know off camera we were talking about you know, keeping your retro style.
Right.
And when I first got into your remixes, you know, songs like You Twisted Around, like the Duran Duran, Hungry Like the Wolf, the Tom Petty, I Won't Back Down, AC/DC, the oh man, what's another one? I mean, I got so many favorites, man. The Joan Jett, you know, yeah, oh yeah, you know, do you
Yeah,
wanna?
sure.
You know, how do you guys like pick out those songs, and then, you know, you have a certain method of taking songs like that, giving them a Boogie Hill twist per se, and then just bringing it out, heavy beats, you know, a little bit more enunciation on the drum parts, that kick, like. Explain that to me in a nutshell.
Sure. So coming from a mobile DJ background, I mean, I grew up playing all those songs. You know, it was kind of the golden age of wedding music, right? The
Right.
old time rock and roll, the Kool and the Gang, the Celebrations, all that stuff. And as I got older and started doing a little bit more remixing and production, I was noticing that you drop some of those songs in to current sets, and they would really stand out in not a good way, because certain production elements had changed with the times. So while the songs were classic, they weren't really blending with what we were mixing. So, you know, like if you're playing like a Pitbull track, and then it's got a really modern, updated kind of club sound, you know, very poppy sound, obviously, with Pitbull, but you mix that with something very old, and even just the way the song is mastered comes in very low. Drums might be a little bit more bland, but it was, you know, that was key for the time. But obviously, as technology improves, all of a sudden, you know, where songs are being mastered is much higher, compressed, very much more louder, much more clear. So I started looking at some of those old songs and saying, well, I could probably clean these up a little bit. So that's honestly how it got started. So, you know, when I look back and I was taking the tapes and doing the extended loops and stuff, I would just take that same sort of approach. I would say that, you know, if you take, you were talking about Hungry Like the Wolf, right?
Right.
You drop the radio edit of that in, and it just basically drops in. It's a cold start. It's hard to mix with. So I'm like, okay, well, it needs an intro, needs an outro, maybe needs some improvement in my eyes in terms of, you know, the type of kick it has, the type of music I want to play with. So I just started analyzing it and taking songs like piece by piece and saying, where can I improve them? But a big thing with doing that, which I find is a lot of guys, it's just my opinion, everybody has their own, you know, sound. You don't take away from that. But a big thing for me, big thing for Dustin, is we wanted to always keep the integrity of the song. I always wanted the song to sound like the song. I want Hungry Like the Wolf to sound hungry like the wolf. I just want it beefed up a little bit. So I didn't want to take it and, you know, reinvent the wheel with it. You just want to take it, add some, you know, add some more kick to it, add some more structure to it that DJs can work with, right? So
Right,
that's kind
right.
of how I look at songs. I look at the stuff that I like to play. I like to look at the stuff that has the broadest appeal for your dance floor.
Mhm.
And when you're, I think it's key that for any DJ is, you know, to, again, you know, have some sort of longevity in the game. You need to be able to look at what you're playing and appeal to a broad market, but not take away from your own style. You need to be able to like accent your style, but still be able to reach, the populace of your dance floor, right? So that doesn't mean
Absolutely.
selling out and like going against the grain, but finding a way to use the stuff maybe that you wouldn't normally play and put your own flavor on it and mix that in. So
Absolutely.
so it's a little bit all of that, you know. So that's kind of how we look at some of the older stuff and say, let's clean it up, bring it up to date, give it a little bit more of a modern flair.
Right. And something that just came into my mind with some of the movies that came out, with the Queen movie, the Elton John movie, and
Right.
all of these retro pop stars, was that AC/DC with the Queen Surprise mix that you did.
Oh, sure. In the
Yeah,
middle.
yeah, with
Yes.
the Back in Black, and then the We Will Rock You comes in, and it was so amazing. I think I played it around the time when that Queen movie was gaining popularity, and when that
Right.
Queen Surprise came in, I mean, you could just see the crowd just losing their mind. When We Will Rock You come up, and it's like it just comes out of nowhere. You're on the Back
Right.
in Black, which is cool. Everybody's bouncing to that beat, and
Yeah.
then that Queen comes in. It's like, whoa, wait a minute! It just takes a different turn, and once it really grabs the crowd by the ear, it's like, oh my goodness, what in the world is this? And it
Right.
just works.
Well, thanks, man. And actually, there's with Dustin and I, when we do our live shows and when we're doing our full-on Boogie Hill Faders stuff, that track, for instance, came out of doing live set. We were talking about, kind of that jam session, song for song. So
Right.
a lot of that kind of stuff, when you hear it in our remixes, comes from because we did it live. We were playing Black and Black. Queen drops in the middle.
Mm.
Dustin throws in that screwball, and we play off that. And then we just make mental notes and go, that worked. Let's go back in the studio,
Okay.
refine it down, mix it down. And then we got that ready to go. So, and people say, well, doesn't that take away from your live show element? And we constantly challenge each other, because once we have that laid down, then we're busy focusing on something else. So then we're adding to that, and you're constantly, putting more ingredients in the mix. So when you hear things like that in our mixes and our remixes, a lot of that comes from our show element. So as much as we look at the old stuff and try to like bring stuff up to date, a lot of it just comes naturally as we're doing our live show.
Got it. So, okay, so on that note, I'm guessing also that the 99 Loft Balloons with the Snoop Dogg, that probably came from a live show too.
Absolutely, it absolutely did. And what we do in a lot of cases is, well, one of specifically Dustin, because he's more beat oriented, obviously coming from that drummer background. He'll be playing a lot of instrumental stuff. I'll be throwing acapellas on top of it. So as he's playing that, juggling beats, switching things up, we have acapellas that are running over top of it at the same time. So as he's focusing on one, I'm able to focus on another, then drop the beat out. I'll drop another beat in with the acapella. It gives him time to cue up something else. So we have a very compressed mix style, but we also like try to keep things moving with the dance floor, but we also try to keep giving people what they want to hear, because there's nothing worse than DJs dropping out of songs too quick or being too aggressive on the mix either. Like, it has to be that natural flow. So like for instance, with the Black and Black into the Queen, like we really feel like that works in terms of transition and flow. So you can drop that in, people get to hear the hook, and people get to hear the Back and Black, the main kind of main guts of it. And then by the time you just got enough of it going and you're good, you can transition into something. But it's as it's an art form, picking what comes next and trying to keep your crowd moving without them rebelling on the dance floor. I always say the biggest compliment when you're in the mix is people not responding. If they can stay and keep dancing and keep the flow going, and there hasn't been a brick in the mix, somebody throw a monkey wrench up into things, and then you get somebody throwing their hands up going, what are you doing? Like, the biggest compliment is just keep everybody happy, keep everybody vibing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely, my man. Okay, so let's touch on COVID a little bit, because that was a freeze to a lot of businesses, including us DJs. How have you guys been able to, like, stay sharp and just navigate, through that time?
So in a moment of real for you outside of the music, it really, I mean, it kicked our ass. It beat us down. My family specifically, because the day before they declared the pandemic, my father-in-law passed away. And he had a long battle with cancer over a few years. And when he passed away, we pulled our kids out of school, and 2 days later, all the schools were shut down. I mean, we pulled the kids out of school because their grandfather passed away.
Right.
And then, so from that time, so from March 11th for us, we've been dealing, everybody is dealing with this in their own ways. And, but for us specifically, adding a death to the mix in the family, we were unable to have a proper funeral. We were unable to plan for a proper funeral. Within that week up in Canada, they said, you're allowed to have 200 people. And then it went down to 100 people. And then it went down to 50. And then it went down to 12 or something, all in a matter of a week. So we're trying to plan this funeral, and things just, snowballing out of control. And then following that week, we just had the plug pulled on anything gig oriented with our Big Fun Canada business. We lost all of our corporate functions, weddings for the year. Everything was just wiped clean. So now, in a positive way, coming back, I don't want to dwell on all that sort of thing, but coming back, we just decided to let the cards fall. Just take time for family, stay focused on what you could do at home. We started having to homeschool our kids. We started, doing the shopping and the cooking, and just sending one person out to do, everything that everybody's dealing with, right? At the same time, trying to look after our mother-in-law, make sure she had food. And it was tough too, because you couldn't even visit. I mean, we couldn't spend as much time as we should have trying to grieve, right? So I was pretty hard on myself at first, going, we need to get going. We need to find a way to make some money. We need to find a way. And I just pulled the plug on it all and said, screw it, man. The most important thing right now is family. Stay close to home. Let the cards fall, let the chips fall where they may. And on the flip side, and on the other end, when it's time, we'll look at doing what we need to do to get business back. Now, during this, we kept doing our remixing, like for Crooklyn Clan and whatnot, because it's an outlet. You could do it at home. My studio's down here in my home, right? So I was able to use that as a bit of a emotional outlet still, and still keep things moving. So it enabled us to work on some bigger projects. So we got some other stuff coming down the pipe. We've got a couple concept albums that we're working on. One thing we're doing right now is where, and you get a bit of a scoop, is we're rebuilding the entire KLF White album. We're going to call it the Black Album, and it's going to be the BHF, which actually where you're seeing here, the BHF Communications is a spin off the KLF. So,
okay, all right.
We're rebuilding all those tracks, and but rather than just do like the one song, we're going to do the whole album as a concept remix album. So so it gives us time to really sit down and focus on some things, right? And go, okay, we can do some things bigger picture now, because we got the time to do it. So
right.
But that's COVID, man.
Yeah.
Everybody's in it.
Yeah, you have to be creative.
Right.
You got to find another creative outlet, for your art form,
Right.
and thank God, thank God as a DJ, you're able to get into remixing, you're able to get into different types of production, anything
Right.
to keep that brain going, without losing your mind.
Absolutely.
So like, what was some of your favorite like COVID snacks, man? You just chill out and just like munch out, just go off.
Food snacks. Yeah, man. I definitely had a lot of those. So funny enough, the first couple of months was nothing but COVID snacks and pizza. I'm a sucker for Cheetos Puffs.
Okay.
I'm a pop junkie. That's like well known in my family and my circles. So I kept that habit up. But then I got to a point where weight started creeping up, and we ended up. Now I wouldn't have been able to do this unless it was COVID. But I had the time to get out in my garage. We got a separate section of our garage. We cleaned it out and I turned it into a gym. I put the flooring down. I made a gym. But that was the second half. I had to like first, stuff my face and then go.
First you gotta stuff up, man.
This is going on too long. I can't do this forever, right? I was like, a couple of weeks, no big deal. We'll sit at home and stuff our faces and do the grieving and do the, we'll eat and we'll be, do our best to be merry. But then the other half was, this could still be another 6 to 8 months, a year. So we built him. I've been out there, staying away from the gym, like going to the gym. So we built our own little gym, and it's been working out. So half and half, right? Like it's a balance thing, right? I guess it's all
The first half is the good balance.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Again, right? Like, according to who? Maybe to me, not to my wife. Talking about keeping the wife happy, right?
Keeping the wife happy, man. Bring those snacks.
Happy life, happy wife.
That's right. Straight up. Hey, okay. So on that sense, you're talking about, doing this concept album. Anything else that are in the plans for Boogie Hill Faders in the future?
So right now, just focusing on the remixing still. We've been blessed to have an opportunity with Crooklyn Clan. So version 3 of Crooklyn Clan is coming out. Sis in the Backhands has got some stuff on Scissorhands, who's one half of Crooklyn Clan, who looks after the site. Has got a new app coming out, a new web app, and a new interface coming out for that. So we're just hanging tight for that, focusing on our remixing, focusing on our production. I mean, the notepad is filled with scratch ideas of stuff to do. We've always got stuff in the back pocket, so continuing to do that. And I honestly think, I honestly don't think we're out of the COVID stuff yet for another maybe year. It's kind of my feeling, until things are really even starting to look like they're back to normal. Right. So we're just going to ride that out and see where it takes us, right? By being focused on our production work, remix work, like I said, no end to that. So as that funnel full, just keep it coming. We can work on stuff now we don't have to touch for months later, right? So we can load up the arsenal and then release stuff as we need to, kind of month to month.
Absolutely. Maybe you guys should like release like your drum samples.
It's not a bad idea, actually. You talk about like the COVID stuff, doing stuff you don't normally do. And I spent a lot of time organizing my sound sample folders and whatnot, getting organized on the computer, right? And then started organizing some of those stuff. Yeah, I was like, that's a great idea. Maybe
I'll be the first one to buy it. I'm like, man, I want that. I want that 808. I want that kick.
I'll send it to you, no charge. You got it.
I was like, I want that kick. I just want to put it on the pad and just play with that bass and that kick. That's all I want to do all day. I'm like, how are they getting this?
A little tip there, which actually I didn't learn until a little bit later along the road here, is layer your kicks, man. Layer your kicks.
Oh, layer your kicks.
Most of our kicks that we use now are 2 and 3 kicks combined together. And we do that. I mean, we come at remixing and production from a DJ background first. A lot of guys come at it from a production, audio standpoint first. We come at it from a DJ standpoint first. And so we take a lot of liberties with our samples, and we take a lot of shortcuts, right? Like a lot of different ways to get the same effect without, work smarter, not harder, right? So So while we're trying to keep integrity for stuff, we're not blatantly ripping off stuff to try to like make it our own. We do try to like process it enough. But yeah, with kicks specifically, I find if you're layering your kicks, you take 2 or 3 different kicks that are sonically kind of different, layer them together, and then you get the proper frequency range across that low end where you can get it really full, right? Because it's like a lot of kicks will sound really tinny. A lot of guys will just layer a kick over top of a track and call it a remix, right?
Right.
Which is still a technique, but we call that more of a blend, right, or a redrum, as opposed to like as opposed to a remix, right? So,
absolutely. Yeah, there's a big difference. Yeah, remix just means that you got a different feel on top of the track. There's a different feel to it.
Right. Yeah. And we try to take when we put we call everything now a remix as far as the stuff we release. We're very aware of the differences there, but we do that more just strictly for brand and because we do with Crooklyn now we're putting out 15, 20, 25 tracks a month. So when we ID our tags and whatnot, we just put everything as a Boogie Hill remix kind of thing, just for consistency, right, with the brand.
Right.
So, but we're right across the board, right? We do everything from mashups to edits and redrums to DJ tools to dub-a-pellas. We've been having a lot of success lately with dub-a-pellas where we'll take an acapella and just run it over a drum beat. And we find a lot of guys use that because they'll download our full remix and the dub-a-pella and then layer them on top of one another so you can duck in and out, have different points where you could drop out and throw guitar riffs or different piano riffs over top of the same drum beat, the same acapella. So we try to look at it like from DJ perspective, the stuff we'd be looking for when we're doing our shows, right? Like, oh, well, if I can get this clean with just the drum beat, I'd want that, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, because that's where the juices will flow up here as far as like dropping it in. It's like, man, and then you start adding your own layers to it as you go along.
Right, absolutely. Yeah.
So what does the meaning of success, what is that for you?
Oh man, success for me is being happy with what I do on a day-to-day basis. Honestly, there's success is family to me. There's nothing. I mean, I was born to be a dad. It took me a while to learn how to be a dad. I'm still not entirely there, but that comes first now, my family. So that's success to me. Being able to work on music and remixing and do that and know that there's people who respect that and like what we do, that's success to me. Being able to contribute to the community which we grew up in, right? Like so continuing things along, continuing to our trade, that's all success to me. I don't really look at it as a monetary thing because I mean, Lord knows we're not millionaires off of what we do, but I really enjoy what we do to the point that I'm blessed that I can do it on a day-to-day basis.
Right. And you make a living at it,
Right. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. I think if you can do that nowadays, especially in this industry, because there's a lot of guys doing what we do, a lot of guys doing what you do. So, for guys like us, you and me to be able to do this and make a living at it, that's success, man.
Right on. Okay, my man, lastly, if people want to get in contact with you, how do they reach out to you?
You can visit us online at www.boogiehillfaders.com. We also got an app you can download, Boogie Hill Faders on the iOS store and on Android. And we just launched 3 new apps for Samsung TV, Roku, and what's the other one? Jeepers, now I'm forgetting. Any TV apps, basically. It's called Boogie Hill Faders Party Mix Radio. So on your TV, you can download Party Mix Radio, and we have a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, non-stop mix of all of our music, remixes we do, plus just retro hits and current hits, top 40. Yeah, you got it. There's that.
I got it right here. I got it right here.
There it is.
You're doing something special when you got your own app now. Come on, that's gangster right there, man. That is
Thanks, man.
gangster. Yeah, and I love
Yeah, there's
everything on it from the bio, to your stories, to your people that you're affiliated with. Everything is right on that app, man. So for those who are
thanks, man.
watching, make
And
sure
it's
you
all
get that
free.
app. You'll love it.
Absolutely. All free, no ads. We want it to just be our music front and foremost, and no BS with the app. You get in there and
Oh,
listen, and you're good to go.
right on, right on. Hey, man, I want to thank you for hopping on. I mean, you gave us a plethora of information, your life, and hey, big shout out to the Calgary Flames.
Yeah, wish we.
Hopefully you get back into that, arena of entertaining people. You said when they filled up with 23,000 people at that
Yeah,
stadium.
yeah, our
Wow.
arena, and there's a new arena on the go that's getting built. But yeah, our arena now holds about 23,000 people, which is huge for an NHL arena because it's obviously all indoors. Most NHL arenas are anywhere from like 13 to
Yeah.
18,000. So yeah,
Right. I think the one we have here, I think they fill up maybe you can get 15 in it.
right.
But
Yeah,
if you're getting 23, holy cow,
yeah,
that's huge.
very
That's
huge.
huge, my man.
Now
But
it's too bad
thank you so much.
yeah, no problem, man. I was just gonna say it's too bad they couldn't go a little deeper in the NHL playoffs this year, but at least we got first round, so that's good.
Oh,
So
there you go. There you go. It's a start though. Perhaps so
absolutely,
many good things to come later on.
absolutely.
Hey, make sure you say hi to like Big D, and maybe once again we can get to both of you so I can get some more Big D partners too.
Would love to. Absolutely. Thanks so much for having us on. I really appreciate it.
Hey man, my pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care, Greg.
All right.